Hey, this is Chris, the owner of Beaver Customs, and wanted to come to you guys today with a video kind of showcasing a couple of our trigger options. And this is actually going to be the end point for one of them, and we're going to introduce a new one. So first off, we want to show you the controller we have here. This is one of our custom controllers that we've done, pretty snazzy looking, and it has adjustable trigger stops. Adjustable trigger stops, as you may be aware, are usually some kind of a screw or a piece of plastic either glued onto the controller, drilled into the controller. Ours had a round spot that stopped at about 50% and then a flat spot that stopped at about 65. You can take it out and go to 100. They were great. Everybody had them. And recently we have been accused of maybe copying some people, and really all these controller companies that can get to a hardware store have some sort of screw that they've used for a trigger stop at some point. They all do the same thing, and it literally just limits the amount of travel your controller has. So the first thing I want to do is show you with um, the Cronus Max that we have here. It's a company that we partner with. We love to use it to debug and test devices in our shop. There's no disputing numbers when it comes to the Cronus Max. You can get in a game and you may have slow turn, you may not. You plug a controller into the Cronus Max. If it doesn't say 100% left and right movement, you don't have 100% movement. So we always want to look at the numbers because we're not the best gamers, right? So if you have a controller with adjustable stops in it, we'll bring up our Cronus here and open up our device manager. It gives all the readouts of our controller. We have our R2, our R1 and our R2 set to track down here at the bottom. So you will see that streaming line going across. That's a refresh rate of the controller, so it's pulling the controller every so many frames or hertz, and just outputting what's going on as far as button inputs. So if you have this trigger stop, when you pull it down, the trigger moves about 50%. It's physically moving 50%. And if you look at that line, we are reading, this one's actually coming out to 45. So we're getting 45% trigger pull. That will shoot 100% of the guns in every game today for any shooting game. But what we're seeing, so the trigger stop came around during the younger age of shooting games where we were trying to take a lot of complex data and put it onto a DVD. So if you realize how data is built, a DVD is not the biggest medium, and now all of our next gen consoles are on Blu-ray. We're seeing games with 50 gig updates. So the developers have a lot more freedom. A lot of these shooting games are moving to a progressive trigger system. I don't know if that's what they actually call it, but that's what we've called it. So if you take a sniper rifle, they can go in as a developer and make that trigger feel really light. So if you barely move your trigger, it fires a sniper rifle, to kind of bring you into the game. Whereas you could take a shotgun if you're sprinting down the hallway and you have to pull your trigger almost all the way down to get a shot. Uh, just a little more realistic. So what we're seeing happen and what we have heard stories of happening are, let's say a company doesn't put their trigger stop in the right place, and then all of a sudden you can't fire a gun, or you have to pull the trigger really hard to get that just right reading to fire the gun. And they're not working anymore. They're not working. People think that we, don't do stuff our own way. Well, it's whatever. So we've came up with a solution. It's been almost 2 years now. We came up with what we call smart triggers. So here we have, bring these inputs up. So here we have our controller. This actually has smart triggers, and this is a wired PS4 controller, so there's no battery in it. When you're using a Cronus, it does data over the wire. Pretty nice there. So plug this into our Cronus. Go ahead and kick that on in tournament mode, and we'll switch our inputs. Well, here, we'll show you the controller real quick. So smart triggers, when we go to pull this trigger, here is how far our trigger movement is. So remember when we were pulling at 50%, we are barely touching that trigger. And you can actually hear the audible click. That is very similar to a mouse click. There's not a lot of weight to it, but at the same time, you're not going to accidentally press our smart triggers. You can kind of see down that right corner. The device manager is going crazy, so let's pull it up. So if you see our device manager, see some blue lines falling off the end of that tape. So we are dead zero in the middle, the red line. When we pull our smart trigger, and you hear that click, you're getting 100% trigger pull. You let go, 0%, 0, 100, 0, 100. This kind of future-proofs our controllers. We can fire any gun in any game forever. I mean, this is the same as you pulling your trigger down all the way. This is as fast as you can get. I mean, there is nothing that will ever be faster than this trigger stop out there, short of using some kind of modification that just gives you rapid fire. So that's what we have. We will still stand by that as the absolute best controller when it comes to any sort of game that you need instant input of a trigger. We actually just launched the same exact feel and feedback noise on our bumpers. We call them smart bumpers. So we have noticed in the PlayStation 4 side of the world that people like to play flipped and they use their R1L1s. So we can do the same input up there, which is real nice. It's a little bit shorter pull and you get that audible click. So you know when you're hitting, you know when to let go. Lets you get our next shot faster. But leads us to our next topic, right? So what we're here for, we're killing our adjustable trigger stops. No longer will that ever be offered by Battle Beaver Customs. It's old, it's not working, it used to be a thing, but it's not a thing anymore. So plug in our new controller here. Bring this up. So here we go. This is what we're going to call racer triggers. The name may change, but the functionality will not. So show you how the trigger pull is going to work here. We get 50% pull. But, so this will work like a trigger stop. Let's say we get in a game and we just want to pull, and we want to get really fast movements. This is going to feel like that trigger stop of old. But if you give it just a little bit further of a pull, you're going to hear our smart trigger. So we're not using any screws. We're not altering the trigger. This is just using our smart trigger a little differently. The reason we call these racers, we found out there was kind of a need in the Rocket League community to have a very quick trigger pull, so you can be full throttle when you need to jump off the line, get the first touch on the ball to get the game started. Boom, you're off. When you're going around the map and you just want to kind of feather your throttle to do some shorter movements, set up for that next hit, that was needed. We couldn't do it with our smart triggers because it was all or nothing. And you can't do trigger stops because you've never hit 100% throttle at any point. And so this is our compromise. So we'll bring this up on the Cronus, show you what's going on. So here we have, let's see, let's close this out. There we go, bring that up. We have our trigger, so you'll see the line again going 0 to 50. And then right when you get to that 50, if you want a little bit more, boom, you're at 100. Or if you just want to go from 100 and drop back down to 50. So what I like to think about is, personally, I love to play some Need for Speed games. And if you're coming around a corner and you want to let off the gas, but you don't want to completely just let off, you can drop down to about 50% throttle, gain a little bit more turning grip there, and then boom, kick it right up to full throttle again. A really unique feel. It's kind of hard to explain. There's a lot of great uses for it because we found out in a lot of instances the point from 50 to 100 isn't used near as much as 0 to 50. So now we give you the opportunity to go 0 to 50 with that steep incline up to 100. So if you still want the old feel of what would be a trigger stop with 50% trigger pull, it's there. Which is real nice just because it feels familiar, but then you have that extra click at the end. So this will go onto our website immediately. We'll be taking down our adjustable trigger stops. We don't see any more use in them, and we definitely will not ever be accused of duplicating or taking somebody else's idea. We don't want people copying us. We don't want to be known to copy anybody else out there. What we do here is a little different at Battle Beaver. If you have any input, any guidance, any questions, reach out to us at Twitter. It's at BattleBeaverC. Shoot us an email, sales@battlebeavercustoms.com. And we'll be here. We'll reply to you. We like to interact with our customers, our fans. We don't try to treat some of that stuff all It's business. We don't want to shove a bunch of advertisements down your throat. We want to give it to you as real as we can. That's why we show you how we test your controllers and how they function on the inside. So until next time, guys, I'm Chris, and we'll see you.